Good morning, everybody. It's a great pleasure to see you all here, fresh and keen to listen to plenty of interesting presentations this morning. I hope you enjoyed yesterday. I definitely did. I think we had great presentations. Hope you also enjoyed your evening, had some good food somewhere in the restaurants nearby. Definitely worthwhile. So, my name is Gerhard Noelken. I'm currently working for the Pistoia Alliance. When I am asked what I'm doing, specifically family and friends, I always have to explain why, as a medical doctor, I'm managing R&D departments for informatics. So the explanation I give people is, those guys, at least 20, 25 years ago, needed an interpreter, a translator, that helped them to translate science language into IT slang and the other way around. As we heard yesterday in the discussion, it might have improved a lot since then, but 25 years ago, it was a challenge to get the scientific message across. I did this 15 years for Hearst, what became Hearst Mann-Russell, what became Aventis as in Frankfurt. I did this for another 15 years at Pfizer in the UK, globally leading that effort for pharmaceutical sciences, including the last 4 years for Allotrope Foundation, which was a great fun to see that foundation develop. I'm now what I would call semi-retired. I'm supporting the Pistoia Alliance, getting new members, creating new ideas, developing new ideas for Pistoia, and offering a bit of lab IT strategy consulting. Two passions I would like to mention to you. One is obviously pre-competitive collaboration, like I experienced it in Allotrope and how I'm now learning about it again in Pistoia. And of course, mountains in the summer and the winter, and I think Peter started that topic yesterday, and I thought, okay, what can I do here? I think he described the cloud, and finally the hole in the cloud. So if you imagine all your data coming down that hole, I thought I'd better offer a lake to capture it, a data lake, in this case, Lake Tahoe. Okay, one slide on Pistoia Alliance. If you think about Pistoia Alliance, think about a large portfolio of different projects in all stages of maturity, from ones that are just ideas at this point to others that are already delivered or have found their own path to the future. Three that are just examples. Here is the ontology mapping. We're hearing more and more about semantic technologies, and everybody builds new ontologies. We have to start thinking about how we combine those ontologies, how we deal with the overlap, how we deal with the conflict between those ontologies. So there is a very active project going to the third years, coming up with new services and tools to do this a lot more efficiently. Another example for a standard is Helm, so the hierarchical language for macromolecules. So we all know how our chemical cartridges are working, but if you have a large string of DNA or you have a monoclonal antibody, to really specify all the modification to that molecule, you need something more than your small molecule chemical cartridge. That's what Helm is providing. And finally, an example of an expert group, that's the Controlled Substance Compliance Service. So they are just talking about how the legislation across the world is dealing with controlled substances and how to do this more efficiently for all the different use cases in that area. But where I really need you, all of you, is to look into what is coming, what is in, let's say, infant stages in terms of projects. Where could your interest, what you are considering to do in your company, how could this overlap, could that benefit with what we are doing in Pistoia? Examples, user-centric design, for example. We are all doing a great job on delivering our requirements to the software vendors, and they build great software for us for our scientific needs. Maybe sometimes we forget about the ease of use, the usability of those, and there are professional services to do this better. So a bit more focus on that area, that's what this team is working on. Unified chemistry data model, an example where people are unhappy with the lack of capability to exchange data between chemistry ELNs. Could we come up with an open standard to help this? We will probably hear some things about wearables in the lab and in clinical environment today. The wearables have done a great career from, let's say, just being fitness tools to being actively used in clinical studies. They're making their entrance into the lab. What does this mean for us in the industry? Real-world data. Many of us have their own real-world data platforms behind the firewalls. It's expensive. It's not always working as we want it to work. Maybe we could come up with platforms that we share and, let's say, use more often, use from in the broader perspective, and therefore make it more efficient for everybody. I'm to some extent skipping Internet of Things. You will probably hear a lot of this again this morning. IDMP is something very close to my heart. And IDMP, identification of medical products, all your companies will very soon have to electronically submit information about your substances where you hold the market authorization to the regulators. Your regulatory departments are very nervous about that. They are preparing for a long time for that. And it has timelines that now go into 2020. So it will keep us busy. And this group here in Pistoia has the idea, okay, are there areas where we as an industry could work together to better support the regulatory agencies in what they request from us. And by, let's say, sharing that burden, make it easier for everybody. And finally, very new non-clinical development, community of interest, they are leaning towards dealing with data integrity topics. So plenty of topics where your input would be extremely valuable. You don't have to be a Pistoia member. Just go to the Pistoia Alliance website, register your interest for one of those groups, and start contributing. Listen to the webinars, listen to the discussions. No need to be a member or anything. And of course, this is the underlying idea. If you want to go fast as your company within your firewalls, go alone. It's not always fast. But if you want to go far and reach high-reaching goals, consider to go together. That was my Edward. Over. Now we go to what we have done yesterday. I think we had a great first day, and it's really, I have to apologize to a lot of the speakers. I picked Michael Chandler. I like his analogy, so hearing about Pokemon for the lab, left an impression with me. I tried to play it with my kids. It is fun, and if we would have something with that impact in the lab, it would change the world. If it is the F-35 helmet or not, I don't know. Definitely, what I've read so far about Tetra Science will finally could bring the plug-and-play technology for our lab equipment to us that we are asking for so long. Currently, it's usage, it's maintenance. We have seen that before, but maybe it gets us to the next step. And the visualization of how to bring people from physical and digital world together, people, businesses, systems, I think it's just real representation of what we need to do. So, I try something my supervisors have always discouraged me to do, and specifically when as a German I went to the UK, don't try German humor. So I will try. It might fail, no worries. Noelken, I think, gave a great presentation on semantic technology yesterday. And I liked his statement, treat data as a first-class citizen. I think we have to come away from, let's say, the system-based thinking. It's really our data, and the systems should only be tools to modify those systems. Think data architecture. And I was always wondering why our data scientists leaving us after a very short period of time. But of course, if we make them cleaning up the swamp, it's probably not a surprise. Maybe we should think about the machines coming and doing their job. And now I understand maybe what machine learning is all about, making those machines learn to help them us. Another attempt, first failed. Okay, good. Alberto gave a great presentation yesterday about data storage, data management at CERN. I was really impressed, not just by the volumes of data he is dealing with, but also, there he is, but also about, let's say, the triangle he showed us between performance, cost, and reliability, and how you can modify those three parameters. Great presentation. Let me make a small joke. He talked about agility to manage it. Now I understand why he needs it, with the presence of a weasel shutting everything down. Now I understand what agile computing is all about. Okay, I will promise to practice more. Let's get to the sessions today. The first session, I hope we will benefit a lot from getting 3 presentations on what I suppose are slightly similar topics. So we will have Peter talking about driving digital excellence, Daniela from BioVia talking about Internet of Things in the lab, I suppose, and Mike Jones from AstraZeneca about the future proof of the connected lab. So I think that's a great combination of 3 slightly different angles on the same topic. So what I hope for is we'll learn how our Google-like glasses or whatever tool we choose will help us to look into our laboratory and get the SOP in the glass projected into the glasses. We will get instructions with what vessels to use and what not. We will see how all the samples are automatically identified by electronic tags, how the balances or instruments were used are already connected and recording all the data. And of course, when we record all that, we want to see it somewhere. It might be a wearable like a wristband that projects on your lower arm, or it might be something else. But having the continuum between, let's say, glasses or some tool to record things and projecting it all in your direct environment might be one way forward. So I'm really looking forward to those 3 presentations we have this morning. It will then follow in a second session by one-to-one business meetings and a think tank from Biontix. Arno will tell us about global validated software deployment, how that is a challenge still today. And we will end the morning with 4 roundtable discussions. Nick told me they will all happen here in this room, so I'm looking forward to that. With that, thank you, and I would hand over to Peter for the first presentation. Thank you.